Be strong and courageous. Introduction to Joshua, Judges, and Ruth. Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. NIV. In many St. Jude advertisements, children and families repeat parts of this verse, especially be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. These words were originally spoken by God to Joshua as he prepared to lead Israel into the promised land. The message is one of courage, hope, and confidence in God's presence during difficult circumstances. Recap of books up to our study. Genesis is the book of beginnings. Exodus is the book of deliverance. Leviticus is the book of worship. Numbers is the book of wandering. Deuteronomy is the book of repetition. Joshua, the bridge. Joshua serves as a bridge between the previous books and those that follow. The earlier books describe Israel outside the land. The next 7 historical books describe Israel inside the land. Joshua is the transition from promise to possession. Long before, God promised Abraham's descendants a land. The promised land was not called that because it was perfect, but because God promised it to them. Joshua demonstrates a powerful truth. What God promises, God accomplishes. Israel often lacked faith, but God's faithfulness never failed. The book of Joshua. Outline of Joshua. The book naturally divides into 3 major sections. 1. Entering the land, chapters 1 to 5. Israel crosses the Jordan River and enters Canaan. 2. Conquering the land, chapters 6 to 12. Israel defeats the major Canaanite strongholds and gains control of the land. 3. Distributing the land, chapters 13 to 24. The inheritance is divided among the 12 tribes, a new generation. The generation that left Egypt has now died in the wilderness because of unbelief. A new generation has come of age. Only 2 men remain from the earlier generation, Joshua, Caleb. These were the 2 faithful spies who believed God could give Israel the land. Judges. Easy way to remember the 12 judges: Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, Tola, Jair, Jephthah, Ibzan, Elon, Abdon, Samson. Mnemonic: Old eagles soar. During great thunderstorms, jaguars jump into every amazing sunset. The book of Judges is divided into 3 sections. 1. Its introduction in 1:1 to 3:6 provides a general overview of what happened to the Israelites in the land of Canaan from just after Joshua's death until the rise of Israel's first king Saul, because the Israelites violated the Lord's covenant he had made with their forefathers. He declared that he would no longer drive out the Canaanites who remained after Joshua died, 2:21. As a result, the period of the Judges was one of the darkest times in Israel's history. 2. Judges 3:7 to 16:31 is the main section of the book. It describes the events that took place during the time of the Judges. There are 12 judges mentioned in the book. However, 6 of the judges receive much more attention than the other 6 judges. 3. The final section of the book of Judges, 17:1 to 21:25, describes 2 events that illustrate just how morally depraved Israel became as they lived in an anarchy, when everyone did whatever seemed right to him during the period of the Judges. Book of Ruth. The setting of the book of Ruth is the period of the Judges, which bridges the time between the conquest and the rise of King David. David's genealogy concludes this book. Therefore, Ruth was written sometime after David was born. The book shows that the messianic line traces back through a lineage of godly people, such as Boaz and Ruth, to David. Their virtues stand in contrast to the corrupt nation of Israel during the period of the Judges. Nevertheless, even in Israel's darkest times, the Lord did not forget his covenant promises to his people. This is also ironic, given that Ruth was a Moabitess, demonstrating that God often graciously includes and uses the most unlikely people to carry out his purposes. Combining Judges and Ruth. Illustration: 2 gardens. Imagine 2 gardens side by side. One is overgrown with weeds, thorns, and neglect. The other contains healthy flowers and fruit. The book of Judges shows a nation descending into spiritual chaos. The book of Ruth shows a faithful woman quietly trusting God amid that chaos. Ruth demonstrates that even when a culture is drifting away from God, individuals can still live faithfully. Big lesson: you may not be able to change the whole nation, but you can choose to be a Ruth in a generation of judges. That may be the central message of these 2 books together. God's promise, Joshua 1:1 to 5. 1. After the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. 2. Moses, my servant, is dead. Now you and all the people prepare to cross over the Jordan to the land I am giving the Israelites. 3. I have given you every place where the sole of your foot treads, just as I promised Moses. 4. Your territory will be from the wilderness and Lebanon to the great river, the Euphrates River, all the land of the Hittites, and west to the Mediterranean Sea. 5. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live. I will be with you just as I was with Moses. I will not leave you or abandon you. Now let's examine Joshua 1 verse by verse. Verse 1. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide. This verse marks a major transition. Moses, the towering leader of Israel, is gone. God speaks immediately, signaling that his work does not stop when a leader dies. Joshua, long Moses' assistant, is now called forward. Think of a relay race. Moses has run his leg faithfully. Now the baton is placed in Joshua's hand. The race continues, not because Moses was great, but because God is faithful. Verse 2, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River. God acknowledges loss plainly. Moses is dead, but then issues a forward-moving command. Now then, grief is real, but it cannot become paralysis. Joshua must lead all the people, not just himself. Like a family business after the founder passes away, the grief is real, but the doors must still open. Responsibility doesn't wait for comfort. Verse 3, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. God reiterates his promise. The land is already given, but it must be claimed. God's promises often involve both divine gift and human obedience. It's like a signed deed to property. The house is legally yours, but you still have to walk in, unlock the door, and live there. Verse 4, your territory will extend from the wilderness to Lebanon, from the Euphrates to the Mediterranean Sea. God defines the scope of the promise. It is expansive, far larger than Israel's current experience. God's vision exceeds human imagination. A child inherits a vast estate, but has lived in only one small room. God is saying, the whole house is yours. Verse 5, no one will be able to stand against you. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Victory is rooted not in Joshua's skill, but in God's presence. The same God who empowered Moses will now empower Joshua. It's not the uniform that makes the officer powerful, it's the authority behind the badge. Joshua's assignment, Joshua 1:6-11. 6. Be strong and courageous, for you will distribute the land I swore to their ancestors to give them as an inheritance. 7. Above all, be strong and very courageous, to observe carefully the whole instruction my servant Moses commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or the left, so that you will have success wherever you go. 8. This book of instruction must not depart from your mouth. You are to meditate on it day and night, so that you may carefully observe everything written in it. For then you will prosper and succeed in whatever you do. 9. Haven't I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. 10. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people. 11. Go through the camp and tell the people, get provisions ready for yourselves, for within 3 days you will be crossing the Jordan to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you to inherit. Verse 6, be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land. Joshua's calling includes strength and courage, not because the task is easy, but because it is heavy. Leadership involves carrying others into God's promises. A bridge doesn't cross the river for itself, it carries others across. Verse 7, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law. Courage is tied to obedience. Success in God's eyes is not boldness alone, but faithfulness to His word. A train is powerful only as long as it stays on the tracks. Obedience is the track. Verse 8. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. God places Scripture at the center of leadership. Meditation leads to obedience, and obedience leads to blessing. Like a musician practicing scales daily, not to perform once, but to shape instinct and muscle memory. Verse 9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? The Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. This is the heart of the chapter. Courage flows from God's presence, not from confidence in self. Fear is answered with, I am with you. A child walks bravely through the dark hallway, not because the dark changed, but because Dad is holding their hand. Verse 10. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people. Joshua moves immediately from hearing God to leading people. Faith expresses itself in action. Prayer is the ignition. Obedience is putting the car in drive. Verse 11. Prepare your provisions. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan. Preparation matters. God's promises don't eliminate planning, they require it. Noah believed God about the flood, but he still had to build the ark plank by plank. Israel's response, Joshua 1:16 to 18. 16. They answered Joshua, everything you have commanded us we will do, and everywhere you send us we will go. 17. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses in everything. Certainly the Lord your God will be with you, as he was with Moses. 18. Anyone who rebels against your order and does not obey your words in all that you command him will be put to death. Above all, be strong and courageous. 2 Timothy 1:7. Verse 16. Whatever you have commanded us, we will do. The people affirmed Joshua's leadership. Unity strengthens the mission. A rowing team must pull in the same direction, or the boat spins in circles. Verse 17. Only may the Lord your God be with you, as he was with Moses. The people recognize the true source of leadership success, God's presence. It's not the conductor alone, it's the orchestra responding together to the music. Verse 18, be strong and courageous. The chapter ends with courage. God's call is echoed by God's people. Like a coach sending players onto the field, you've trained, you're ready, now go. Big picture takeaways. God's work continues through new leaders. Courage is commanded, not optional. God's presence is the true source of strength. Obedience fuels success. Leadership exists to bring others into God's promises. The chapter ends the same way it begins, with strength, courage, and forward movement, not because Joshua feels ready, but because God has promised to be present. So Joshua 1 is not just about leadership. It's about transition. It's about obedience. It's about stepping forward when the past is honored, but no longer guiding. And most of all, it's about this truth. God's work never ends when his servants do. Corrie 10, boom after World War II. Joshua 1, theme, God is with you wherever you go. Corrie 10. Boom survived imprisonment in Nazi concentration camps after helping Jews escape persecution. After the war, she traveled the world sharing a message of forgiveness and trust in God. She often reminded audiences, there is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still. Joshua's greatest promise was not military success, but God's presence. Lesson: the presence of God sustains his people through every trial.